I lived my life deeply rooted in my political identity, a proud Democrat, passionate about justice, equality, and fighting for what I believed was right. My worldview was shaped by news, rallies, debates, and the pulse of a divided nation. But as I lay, gasping for breath on the hospital bed, moments away from death, all those battles, opinions, and ideologies felt suddenly meaningless. The pain was intense, the room around me fading as darkness crept in. I was terrified, but oddly calm, as if some unseen force was pulling me toward something beyond this life. Then, in the midst of the darkness, a light appeared, not harsh or blinding, but warm, inviting, and filled with a peace I had never known. Drawn to the light, I found myself at the feet of the King of Kings. The overwhelming love radiating from him was nothing like the conflict I had known on earth. All the political strife, all the anger and division seemed so small and petty compared to the eternal kingdom I was now glimpsing. For the first time, I saw beyond the labels, beyond the parties and platforms. Here, at his feet, I was simply a soul, naked and vulnerable, yet deeply loved and accepted. This was not just an encounter, but a reckoning, a call to see life from an eternal perspective far beyond the transient battles of this world. As I knelt at the feet of the King of Kings, the weight of my earthly life began to unravel before me. The issues I had fought so passionately for, political parties, social causes, ideological battles, they all seemed like fleeting shadows in the vastness of eternity. The divisions that once fueled my passion now appeared as distractions from the true mission of the soul. I was shown visions of the world as it really is, not through the lens of partisan strife, but as a broken and beautiful creation in desperate need of healing and unity. The King's love extended beyond all borders and beliefs, embracing every person regardless of their political stance. He revealed to me how much time, energy, and heartache I had invested in causes that, while important in a temporal sense, had often drawn me away from the deeper purpose of love, mercy, and grace. I saw how the anger and judgment I harbored, even in the name of justice, had built walls instead of bridges. This was a humbling revelation. The fight was not against people or political ideologies, but against the darkness that blinds the heart and separates us from God and each other. In that moment, I realized that true change begins not with slogans or protests, but with a transformed heart, a heart willing to love unconditionally and forgive endlessly. The King's gaze was gentle but firm. He beckoned me to leave behind the divisiveness and embrace a higher calling, one that transcends politics and focuses on eternal truth and love. As I lingered at the feet of the King, the light around me seemed to grow deeper, and I was invited to look inward, to confront the personal truths I had long avoided. The political identity that had so defined me was just one layer, a mask that often hid my deeper fears, prejudices, and failings. I was shown moments when my passion for justice crossed into anger, pride, or condemnation of others. Times when I judged those who disagreed with me harshly, forgetting the call to love even my enemies. I saw how my own heart was not as pure as I had believed. Yet the King's gaze held no condemnation, only mercy and an invitation to healing. He revealed that no political allegiance could save a soul, only grace could do that. The invitation was to surrender all that divided me, politics included, and to find unity in him. This reckoning was painful but liberating. I felt the chains of bitterness and self-righteousness begin to fall away. I realized that true freedom comes from humility and surrender, not from winning debates or causes. The King offered forgiveness and a new beginning. He called me to embrace a heart transformed by love, a heart willing to be made whole and to walk in his ways. As I stood before the King of Kings, he revealed a vision, one not of earthly kingdoms or political systems, but of a unified kingdom that transcended all human divisions. In this kingdom, Labels like Democrat or Republican, left or right, mattered not. What mattered was the condition of the heart and the willingness to live in love, justice, and mercy. I saw people from every nation, tribe, and tongue gathering in harmony. There were no barriers of ideology, no walls built by hatred or fear. Instead, there was a deep fellowship rooted in peace and truth. The king showed me that this unity is not merely a future hope, but a present calling for all believers. He reminded me that the true battle is spiritual, fought not with words or politics, but with prayer, compassion, and humble service. The kingdom he offered is one where justice flows like a river, mercy covers all sins, and every soul is valued equally. This vision filled me with both awe and conviction. It was a call to return to the world with a renewed mission, not to perpetuate division, but to be a peacemaker and servant of the eternal kingdom. I understood that the footprints I would leave behind must reflect this higher calling, one that transcends temporal allegiances and points others toward lasting reconciliation. As the radiant light gently receded, I felt the pull back to my earthly body, a place of pain, confusion, and division. But I was no longer the same person who had entered death's doorway. The king's presence had transformed my heart, revealing a mission far greater than politics or ideology. I awoke with a new clarity. My calling was to be a bridge builder, a voice for unity amid chaos, and a humble servant of love that transcends all earthly divides. The king had shown me the futility of partisan battles and the power of grace to heal even the deepest wounds. Returning was difficult. The world I re-entered was fractured, loud with anger and fear, but I carried within me a peace and purpose no one could take away. My challenge was clear: to live out the vision of the kingdom in practical ways, showing mercy to those I disagreed with and fostering genuine dialogue instead of division. This mission was not easy. I would face criticism from all sides, accusations of betrayal, and the temptation to revert to old ways. But the king's love fortified me, reminding me that true leadership means walking the narrow path of truth and grace no matter the cost. With each breath, I vowed to embody the kingdom's values and to inspire others to seek the eternal over the temporal. Returning to everyday life with this new vision was both a gift and a challenge. The political passions and divisions that once defined me still swirled around me, but inside, I carried a deeper conviction and a more expansive perspective. I began to see my role not as a warrior for a party, but as a humble servant of the kingdom of God. This meant making difficult choices. I learned to listen more and judge less. I sought out those with whom I disagreed and engaged with them in compassion rather than conflict. I embraced prayer as a tool of power rather than rhetoric as a weapon. The king's call to unity was lived out in small daily acts of kindness, patience, and forgiveness. I witnessed firsthand how love can break down barriers and open hearts that political arguments cannot. At times, the struggle was immense. Temptations to fall back into old patterns of anger and division tested my resolve. But remembering the radiant light and the king's vision kept me grounded. My ministry, relationships, and even my personal worldview transformed. I was no longer just a Democrat, but a citizen of an eternal kingdom, called to embody justice, mercy, and humility. This new way of living was not about abandoning beliefs, but about prioritizing love above all else. Living as a citizen of the eternal kingdom came with its costs. I faced alienation from those who still clung fiercely to partisan identities. Some accused me of betrayal, others of naivete. The comfort of political certainty gave way to the discomfort of radical love and humility. Yet, in this cost, I found profound reward. I experienced a peace that transcended understanding, a joy rooted not in circumstances but in divine presence. I saw lives touched by the message of reconciliation and grace, people healed from bitterness and division. The king's words echoed in my heart. Blessed are the peacemakers, for they shall be called children of God. I embraced this calling fully, knowing that true victory is not in worldly power, but in faithfulness to love. Each day became a testimony, a living witness to the transformative power of God's kingdom breaking into a fractured world. The crown of life promised to those who persevere shone brighter than any earthly accolade. Though the journey was difficult, I would not trade this new life for all the political victories of my past. As I stand now, reflecting on this journey, from death back to life, from earthly identity to eternal citizenship, I understand the profound calling placed upon me. The King of Kings did not just offer a glimpse of glory, but entrusted me with a commission to live and lead with the values of his kingdom: love, mercy, humility, and truth. I realize now that the divisions I once fought over are temporary, fleeting like shadows. What lasts forever is the impact of love, the healing of hearts, and the bringing together of fractured souls into one family. My mission is clear: to be a peacemaker in a divided world, to call others beyond partisan labels, and to point all toward the true King whose kingdom has no end. This testimony is both a warning and a hope that our lives here have eternal consequences, and that true victory is found not in power or politics, but in surrender to divine love. To anyone watching, I urge you to look beyond the noise and find your place in this eternal kingdom. Lay down what divides you, embrace grace, and walk the path of peace. The King waits with open arms, ready to crown all who come to him with a crown of life and love that lasts forever.